Hello, we're doing the CBS-RLT Academic Tech-Talk again, and we're going to be talking about groups and everything that goes into groups, and we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, the basics, and then we'll talk about some of the advanced things, the things that bother people and things that make people go crazy. But we'll bring up some of the tips that help people get by with groups, because it is a great tool, and hopefully that you can use that. So we have Kellyanne Binkowski with me again today. How are you doing, Callie?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying the sunshine. I hear it's like 37
nice.
degrees out.
I am so glad that spring is coming. So although my backyard is quite a swamp at this point.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that problem. Not yet.
Yeah, so I'm worried about my sump pump. I always worry about my sump pump at this time of year because I had a flooded basement and that's no fun, but I'll check in there and make sure everything's working okay. So as far as groups, it is a tool in Canvas that instructors can create these groups from their roster. They can create these group sets. They can have a group set full of groups that they can create either automatically or they can manually do that. And then they can assign these groups to assignments and discussions. And these groups can also have their own space to interact with each other, which is a lesser used feature. But groups do not work for quizzes at this point. So that is a basic stuff. So what do you find that is helpful for instructors to know about groups, Callie?
I think the first thing I would add to that is it's important to recognize that in Canvas, the reason to make a group is so students can turn in work or work together on something. So when you do a discussion and you assign it to groups, each group's discussion is separated from each other, so they only work together. And if you do a group assignment, the groups work together and submit one assignment. It doesn't do anything really with like, some people mess it up with like sections. You do sections so TAs can grade a group of students.
Right.
But that is not what groups are. So if you want, like we have a few classes that are very strange where they both want the group to work together and they also want the TA to be able to grade the group separately, and we actually put them in both places. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have even brought it up, but the key is
that's okay. I think it's important to take groups versus sections because they do have that tool where you can work on your own sections. I believe we have to create the sections, but then instructors can use the tool to move students in and out of these arbitrary sections. And when I mean arbitrary, they're not PeopleSoft sections.
And I'll just let you know that teachers can create them. They're called teacher created sections. There's a place where you can click there's somewhere you can click a plus, like they have that power too.
Okay, I believe that was not from the beginning, but
yeah,
I could be wrong. So then also you can assign, if you did do sections, which we're not really talking about today, you can assign by sections, you know, for different dates, date groups for the due and the end date for individual sections, where you can't do that really for individual groups. But I think it's important to note that instructors can easily create groups. They cannot easily create sections. So most of the time you want to do groups.
Yes. And there is one weird instance, details. Okay, this is why we have these conversations.
Yeah, there's nuance.
Hear all the stupid details. You cannot assign an assignment to just one group.
That's true.
So that like each individual in that group would then complete and turn in that assignment. That you cannot do. However, if you have a group assignment where each group is going to turn in one thing, you can assign that to specific groups, but they're still only going to turn in one assignment for the group, not individuals turning them in. Okay, I'm going to stop there because that's a confusion, but there's another one.
That's the thing, is that groups can be very basic and very simple, but you can make it complicated. And the other thing is that if they don't change, it's easy to manage groups. But if your groups are evolving throughout the semester, you'll see, as we'll get into this, that it gets increasingly complex pretty fast. So the one thing I think that we didn't mention about groups is also the grading piece. It's submitted as a group, so you grade it as a group. So, you can say 5 out of 5 students, you rate it once and it goes to all 5 of those students in that group. And then you find out that there's outlier later. There's an option that will show, are you pulling it up on your computer? It looks like
I was just trying to look for it. Where do you want me to go?
Just go to group and we're going to pretend that we, well, actually, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Maybe we should go to the group creation process. Maybe we should just start there because we're kind of jumping ahead here.
There's a lot of stuff. There's so much to talk about. We don't want to take tons of time. Well, we're going to wind up.
Are you going to share your screen?
Would it be easier if you direct me what to do so you can
Sure. Go to a sandbox course that has some students in there.
Hang on, we're gonna signing in. Don't you dare duo me. Okay, let me get in here. I think I have it coming up. There we go. Sorry, you're going to get a flash of looking at yourself. Say hello, get rid of that. Yeah, I have lots of stuff open. So my connection was not interrupted. Come on.
That's okay. You don't have to worry about this either, Callie. If we go too long, I can always cut this part out. So no one will be any the wiser, but I might just leave it in because it's kind of fun.
I know you're not the, yeah. If my modem starts acting up today, and it obviously is because hello slow.
Okay, I can bring mine up too if it's
maybe you should be the one running this because I'm obviously having connection issues.
I'm gonna share screen. Oh, you're sharing. You got to stop sharing for me to do
there
this.
There you
go. Okay, I'm gonna share screen and I'm gonna share this Chrome instance right there. So this is my sandbox course with my tree frog, and I love him very much. But to create these groups, you go to people, and I have all these group sets here, and a group set is just that. It's a set that you fill with groups. So I'm gonna create one new group set, and I'm gonna call it what is today? Tuesday. And there's this option for allowing self sign up, which is not used a lot probably. And this one is actually used quite a bit. Like say I want to have groups that are up to 5 or up to 10, and then it'll have like an odd number group at the end. It does the math, and there might be like several groups of 3 and one set of 2. So there's also what's called group leaders, and require group members be in the same section. Yes, that is a good option and important sometimes. And this one is I'll create groups later, which actually means you're going to do a manual process. You're actually creating just the group set without the groups, and that is actually useful because you may be assigning these group sets to all these different assignments and discussions, but you don't know what the groups are going to be yet. So you can have all that set up without actually having the groups set up. So I hope that was clear. But also there's such thing as group leader, and a group leader is basically the person that's going to submit the assignment. I don't think it has any other functionality other than that. Am I incorrect on that, Callie?
No, I think that's it. It's just that, like, so if you're using groups in person that are also on Canvas, this is a way for you to quickly make somebody the group leader for the day, for the week, for whatever, so that when they get to class, they could have looked this up.
Right. And I think that's a little used functionality, but I could be wrong there.
No, I don't think it gets used much at all. I think you're right.
Okay, so as soon as I hit save here, it's going to create these groups, and you see the progress happen there. And I don't have any students in here, so I said groups of 3, which this is not acting as expected here.
Uh-oh, what's it doing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups of 1 student. I said of 3, didn't I? Split students into groups with 3 students. Isn't that what I said?
I don't know. I didn't catch it. I was trying to pull up a page.
I'm going to try this again because group set Tuesday 2. And I'm going to say split into groups of 3 students. I think where the issue might have been, it says I require them to be in the same section. I may have some anomaly in how my students are enrolled. So I think maybe that's what happened. I won't use this option here and see if it does a better job. This is sandbox, so the enrollment is kind of odd in it. So it created one group of 3 and 2 sets of 2 instead of creating, 2 groups of 3 and one set of 1. So it did not strand one student. So it did this automatically, and I want to show you that now. If I didn't like the way this was set up, I can grab what I call the matrix of dots on a box, and I can move it to a different group. I can move things around if I want to customize it very easily. And if there were students that weren't enrolled at all, they would be over in the list here off to the left, and I could drag them into a group. And also, if I didn't want to drag them, it can happen that you have a list so long that you have to scroll a long ways on your page, and you don't want to click and drag it a long distance that way. In that, there's also a move tool off to the right here. And with those 3 dots, it can go move to, and I could say move to one of the other groups and move, and it automatically moves that way. One other functionality that you can do with this, they have this import button here. There's import, and it works also as an export, although it doesn't look like it. You hit import, and then you can export as a CSV file, and it looks really nice. It comes into an Excel file or Google Sheets, and that ended off on a different browser here. Let me share that one. A new share. Sure.
Got it.
Does that work, Callie? Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so you get the name, the Canvas user ID, login ID, which is email, and the section names that they're in, and the group name, and the group Canvas group ID. So I could easily change these around in this file and re-import it and change my enrollment for the group set that way.
And I'll just add that if it's the beginning of the semester and you manually decide who's going to be in what group, you would export this, and then these group things would be empty, and you would just create group names, and then go through the process that I'm sure Evan's about to show you to re-import.
Oh, I wasn't going to do that part, but yeah, these are the group names. So I could easily change these names around and just re-import it, and they will move to different groups inside of Canvas. Also, this export is really handy if you need to get your list of students into a different format. For example, I use this in a tool called, I'm going to stop the share, Qualtrics, because that I can use the group names and the student names and some display logic and loop and merge, and it makes it so students can use Qualtrics and evaluate only the students in their groups. And that used to be very difficult to get that information outside of Canvas, but now that tool, the import button, is very helpful.
We've had a lot of instructors that have wanted, can I just have a list of the groups and which students are in which group? And now this is the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I should also share that these are a bunch of group sets here. There's a lot of them. So sometimes these group sets are created by mistake, and I'll show you an example of that. I'll go to my bogus groups. No, I'll go to my fakes group set. No, I'll go to this one. Okay, I have girls and guys here. And if I change this, and if this has been an assignment, if I move this student to there, here comes the warning that confuses everybody. This says, do you want to, create a new group set and clone the existing one and make the change to this cloned group set, which is a lot of things that happen all at once, and it leads you right to it. It makes you think that this is probably what I want to do. But most of the time, this isn't actually what you want to do. And this is where we're going to start getting the complicated part of this, is that in this case, I'm gonna change existing group set instead of creating a new one. Actually, I'll create the clone here so you can see what it does. So I'm making a change to the group set, and the reason why I want to make a change is because this has already been in an assignment. that's already functioned. So when I hit submit, so I have guys and gals, and now I have cloned gals and guys too, which actually I should have named in a better way than cloned, but that's the default. So I wanted to show it to you that way. If you're going to do this on a purposefully way, you probably want to put a date in there or an assignment name where you're changing. So pretend we're changing the groups on purpose, and it's because whatever, someone moved from one table to another table and you just want the change. So if I made a new clone, I could assign this to all the future assignments and leave all the past assignments with the original group set. Am I being clear on that, Callie? Can you spot me on that?
I think you've got it. So so I want to make sure that there's one thing that we know. When Evan tried switching somebody in gals and guys, it did that prompt, he made a clone. Now, the one thing that has been in the past, Evan, I don't know if it's still true, that change you were attempting to make didn't actually happen in either group. It triggers it, but it doesn't actually make the change, if I remember right. If you open up Tuesday 2.2 and Tuesday 2.3, I don't think any of these are different than what they were in the first one.
Okay, so let's
you could
test
click
that.
back to gals and guys.
Because this is gals and guys. So remind me, what actually did I move? Did I move?
Well, like, look, your groups are even different. That is so weird.
1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and
see, it didn't change it.
So it created the group, but it didn't make the change and the group. But it has this student out here, student CBS. And is that the same?
I don't know. Let's look.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that is a definite gotcha, is that you follow through the process you think you did. You go and assign the new assignments, the new group assignments get assigned to the cloned group set, but you actually haven't made any changes yet. So you have to make the change like twice, once to trigger it, and then again to actually do it, if that makes any sense.
That does make sense. So you really need to check yourself and check things over to make sure things actually happen, because sometimes the workflow is of such that you feel like you've made the change, but you didn't actually change.
Yeah, I mean, Evan was saying this is where it all starts getting really complex. And yes, this is a total miss on Canvas's part, that none of that messaging indicates that that change you just made didn't actually get made. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah.
So do you think there's anything else we should cover at this point, or should I show how to create a group assignment?
I think that's where we are next. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to just go to assignments and ignore the page because I have a lot of testing type situations here, and it's quite messy. So I'm going to create just an assignment, and a very basic one, group Tuesday. I'm just going with that theme now. And this is where I would have, my instructions, and then the points, and then my group set, and then submission type says external tool here. And actually, I'm not going external tool because this means that my previous assignment was probably using Turnitin or something. But you can't do a group assignment to Turnitin, which is another thing we didn't mention. But I'm going to say it's online. And I'm going to say that is a group assignment. So now I have to ask or tell it which group set to use. And remember, I have a bunch of them. I had my cloned one, and I had my guys and gals, and my cloned one isn't even on the list here. So I'm actually just going to do gals and guys. And then, and we're not going to get into this right now, but I could set all the dates and all those parameters. So as soon as I set this, and I'm going to do a save and publish, text entry and file uploads. I missed that. And I'll do a save and publish. So now there's 2 groups and they can submit as a group. So since I published it, I should be able to go to student view and then find, yeah, this is what it looks like to the student then. So this is test student that's in the course, and there they can hit start assignment. And I don't have a file that I thought ahead of to do, so I'm just going to do a text entry. And this is my answer. And this could be a file. You could have a file that they download and fill in all the answers and submit something back. There's a lot of options you could do at this point. Do you want to mention anything with the Google Drive at this point, Callie? Or
no, these are just really useful ways for students to get the work in. Like they could upload a file if they've made it elsewhere. Most students doing group work are creating a document on Google Drive that they all work on, and then it'll be on their Google Drive, and this Google Drive tab just lets you navigate, lets a student navigate right to that assignment, so they don't have to download it off Google first and then upload it.
Right.
They can just get it right from their drive.
So then when the student submits, they're submitting for everybody, pardon me, that's in that group. So when I'm going to leave student view, and I can go to SpeedGrader now, and I can find that submission. So this is test student, and you can see that's what the response is. And for everyone in that group, if I give this a grade of 18 and hit submit, everyone in that group gets that grade of 18.
Evan, can you click on the down arrow by test students?
Yes, I can.
So one of the weird things about the test student is you can't put him in a group. So what it's showing here is that like guys and gals have not yet submitted anything. Go ahead and click on girls, and let's just give them a 0. So now you'll notice like the individual students aren't listed in that drop down box like they normally would be. It's the groups that are listed. So you're grading by a group. And now if we go to grades, you should be able to see, like, I don't know, I suppose we could give the guys full points since we gave the girls 9.
Sure.
If you want to grade them.
They only did okay. Yeah. We're giving them 5.
Yeah. Okay, good. And
They
then there was one
something
student we didn't grade. So the students that are listed at this point in Evan's case are just because they haven't been put in a group. If you remember, student 1 CBS was not actually in one of the groups in this set. But what you can see now is, well, there's not a huge amount of people in here, but the grades have been assigned to those groups.
Right. So this is not a great example.
Yeah,
so this is also this is like okay, all sections. Yeah.
And we just want to switch it to all groups if we can.
Yes. There we go.
There we go.
So that makes more sense. So now I should be able to find it by the 0s and 5s here.
It's probably way at the end. I don't know. Where did we shove it?
That's what happens when you get a grade book that's too much.
Yeah, we've been playing in these grade books since we started switching to Canvas. So yeah. I don't remember what it was called, Evan. You could search for the assignment.
Yeah, it's called Tuesday something.
Well, that was what the group was called. There you go.
Group Tuesday.
I'm not seeing it.
The assignment names.
I don't think that's what it was.
Ah.
Do you want to hit back and we can go back to the SpeedGrader and see what we called this assignment?
Hang on.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it was. And then I went back. So
try hitting forward. Maybe it'll let it dump right to where we needed it to be. You just can't win.
Yeah, it was there. Dang it.
It is called Group Tuesday. So why was it being such a pain to find it?
See, what's happening is I'm scrolling backwards and I hit the end of it and it's telling me that I wanted to go back. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Tuesday. I'm clumsy today, so.
Where is it?
It's right there.
There it is. Okay.
So
you can see.
Yes. So all this group got 0s, and all the group got 5s. And student 1, as you remember, was not actually in a group, so they did not get a score.
Yep.
So so we can decide later that Miranda. No, actually, let's say that Tom didn't do all his work. So we want to give him a different grade than the rest of that group. I mean, you could do it. You could try to do it here. And actually, what happens there, Callie? Is it going to change it for everyone there? Yes. See what happened? Everyone in that group, they got a 4, but it's like, I didn't actually want everyone to get 4. I only wanted Tom to get that score. So what I can do is go back to speed grade, or I actually have to go to the assignment. I don't go right to speed grader. I go to the assignment and I go to edit. And this is one of the most important things that you have to be able to do when you're working with groups, is know about this check mark right here.
Yep.
Assign grades to each student individually. So the workflow is that you grade everyone in the whole group at the beginning, and then you go back later and you decide, then you can change the outliers, which I call them anyway, the ones that maybe didn't perform at all in this assignment. So if I say hit assign grades individually, and I can hit save, and then I can go to speed grader, or I could do this in a grade book as well. And see what used to show all groups up here at this top here, now they're individual names. So then I can go to Tom and give him a different score than everybody else. So that functionality is important for that feature, and it's also important in one other situation. So and I think Callie knows what I'm talking about. Do you want to explain what I'm?
So now we're up to, okay, the consequences of changing groups midstream.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to try and explain this using a tool in Zoom, which not many people use, called the whiteboard. So I'm clicking on share screen, and after all the windows I have open, there is a whiteboard option. So I'm going to share that, and now you should see a whiteboard, right? So I'm going to make a Venn diagram with 3 circles. Evan, how easy is it to see that green? Should I switch colors?
Yeah, I see him. It looks fine. It looks like you're going to draw Mr. Yuck, big green circle.
Okay, my circle was really bad that time, but I'm being sloppy about it. I just don't care.
Just go with it.
One more here. Okay, so when it comes to group assignments, you have the groups themselves with the group sets. So you got that groups and their memberships. And then you also have, so this is the second place where you'll find some of this, assignments that are set to specific group sets, right? And then you also have the grades that you've assigned to those groups. These 3 things are interconnected. So if you fiddle with one, you fiddle with them all. So what Evan just showed you is that if you switch a grade without making that important check mark in the settings, if you switch this grade, that grade will switch for the whole group because the groups are connected. The grade is affiliated with the group, not with the individual. The same thing is going to happen, or something equally wonky is going to happen if you try to switch up group memberships. So I'm going to pick one specific case. You ready? Ahmad turned in the assignment for his group 1, for assignment 1. It is now time for assignment 2, and Ahmad is switching groups. So without changing anything, you grab Ahmad, you switch him to group 2. We're going to say, oh, what the heck? We'll say with cloning, because that's the one that seems like it happens. You remember that it didn't actually switch it. So it clones the group, and then you go in again, and then you actually move Ahmad to group 2. You haven't actually changed anything yet because you changed Ahmad in a cloned group set. And this assignment is not assigned to that group set. It's assigned to the original one.
That's right. Yep.
So in order to make this change, you would have to go to the assignment and change the assignment from the original group set to the cloned group set. And now everything will be working again. So you see connections. Okay, we're going to try it again. You want to move Ahmad, and this time you move him without cloning. Okay, you just move him in the existing group. Well, assignment number 1, we'll start with assignment 2 because that's the one you wanted to switch him for. Assignment number 2 now has Ahmad in the correct group. You haven't graded that yet. They haven't turned it in yet. Everything is fine and kosher. However, you have assignment 1 where Ahmad turned in a piece of work for group 1, but since you didn't disconnect the assignment 1 from groups, his assignment that he turned in for group 1 is now affiliated with group 2. And that grade that you gave group 1 is now gone because it's been moved to group 2. And now group 2 will get one of the grades. They will either get the grade Ahmad's work got, or they will get the grade their own person who turned it in gave them. It will depend on which person I think turned it in last.
Mm-hmm.
So see, things get confused. So the real key here is you got to disconnect apart. Whenever you want to make a change in your group membership midstream, you have to disconnect apart. So, oh boy, is any of this, am I still making sense, Evan?
It is. So you had the Venn diagram, but I also want to say that to make it actually then work, though, you actually have to go linear. You have to go like grade the assignment and then switch it to individual grades, because that locks those grades into place. So you're going to get to there probably. But,
yeah. So wait,
well,
what he's
if you
talking
go
about?
linear with how you think about this, and you follow a process, it kind of locks the grades in place. So you can go backwards and it still makes sense. But if you don't follow the process and you don't switch it to use that tool, that individual grades thing, changes happen in previous assignments that you don't want to happen.
So what Evan is saying there, yep, is that one of the fixes you can make for this is if you make that check mark to go to individual grades, the grades are no longer part of this grouping set. So then the groups and like you basically disconnected them. It's now, there's no groups anymore. Oh, wait, that's probably where I meant to put the X. Hang on. So that's probably where I meant to put the X. I'm going to switch this back to my squiggly line. There we go. That by switching it from group grading to individual grading, he has taken the groups out of the equation. So now the assignment and the grades are locked to individuals. That's how I kind of like to think about it. When you check that box,
they submitted as a group, but now then he graded it. Now it's an individual assignment. It's not affected by the groups or screwed up by group changes in the future. It kind of locks it into place.
So now you could change a mod from group 1 to group 2 without cloning, and assignment 1 will be fine because assignment 1 is no longer using the group information. The other option, if I back up here, there we go, is that if you're going to clone the group, you now have a new group that's got new stuff. You basically have to go in here and make changes to the assignments so that that new group comes into the assignments. And you have to do it before you start grading. Otherwise, we'll mess everything up.
Group set after you graded, and then it's not graded anymore. It has to be, you're right.
Yeah, and honestly, it's actually got to be before they submit. If they start submitting when they're in the wrong groups, it will not work. Like it will be confusing. There will be issues, which boils down to the easy answer. Hopefully this is starting to make a little bit more sense, but you can tell this is 3 pieces that are really connecting together, and you got to understand like how Canvas works to really do this well. Evan and I have a lot of experience modifying groups. If you need to make a change mid-semester and you are not sure how to do it, just reach out to us at cbs-rlt@umn.edu, because we will help you do this in a way that will not mess up your grades.
Right. And I do also want to point out that this does seem confusing, and it does, I mean, that relationship thing is kind of confusing, but if things go wrong, most of the time you can set things back to the way they were and recover the grades, and then fix the situation. So even if you get messed up with all this, most of the time, 90% of the time, is, I don't know about that number, I just kind of pulled that one out of the air, but you can usually fix it. You go backwards and fix it as long as you remember the scenario, the situation, so, and what changes you made.
And I think even with grade history, we can fix it. Canvas has a lot of good backwards moves. We can help you fix it if it did get messed up. But if we have to untangle, it might take a little bit of time. We would much rather just help you from the start. In the ideal situation, like students have submitted, you have finished grading, everything from here down is done, everything from here up hasn't even started. You make the change, you make the adjustments, you make the change, and now everything just works from here on out. But a lot of times there's overlap. So we know it can be difficult, but that's what you're aiming for. If you have like an unexpected, unplanned change in groups, ideally you finish one set, finish the preset before you start working on the post set. If you're making planned changes, you do what Evan did. You saw he had all these different group sets. Make all your group sets, assign them to the assignments where you want them, and then you are basically set up to change your groups along the way in a pre-planned way.
Right, because in that case, you could export and then make the changes and import it into the next group set. That would be a possibility for that situation. But that one button that score individually saves so much. I wish it was in a more prominent location. It was easier to find and be just a little bit more intuitive than it is. But if you're making changes to your groups, it is key to your success. But that's the other thing. If you're not making group changes, it just works. It works easy. And the one other thing I was thinking of, if you do end up changing half of the group sets, throughout the semester, once you copy forward your course into the next semester, you'll want to remember to fix those before the semester starts. So
because I think it only copies forward like a group.
The group set without any groups.
Group set. Yeah.
Group set name.
Yep. I wanted to share 2 additional things that might just help along the way.
Sure.
We have some of this written up in a place where you can get to it over here in the Canvas community. So if you go to community.canvaslms.com, or you're like me and you just search Canvas community, this will come up. One of the articles you can search for is called The Nitty-Gritty Modifying Group Membership Midterm. And it tries to explain what we went through about that warning about cloning the group and the consequences of either choice. So that's a good one to go to if you want to try and do this. But again, we're happy to help. The other one I wanted to show you was just best practices for grading group assignments. I posted this to community to ask for further help. Our recommendation, or at least mine, has been when you grade a group assignment, even if you don't have to modify any individuals, when your grading for that group assignment is done, go into edit settings and change it to individual. The advantage of this is it locks the grade to the individual instead of the groups. So then you can freely fiddle. You could be 3/4 of the way through the semester. And if you've done this all along, it's easy to make a group change without cloning, because all your other group assignments are locked into individual scoring at that point. So there's just a set of steps here. Like, this is the best way to just kind of get through group grading so that your scores maintain integrity. It is true, if you lock it to individual grades, if you have to change the score for an entire group, you would need to do that manually for each group member. Highly recommend you do it that way than switching it back to groups and coming back, because you will lose any other grades you've switched individually. Like, once you switch it to, we talked about this, Evan, once you switch it to individual, don't switch it back to group grading.
Right.
We're pretty sure that will mess you up.
Yeah, that is a gotcha. The other gotcha, I did mention it before, but when don't create clone group sets unless you're doing it purposefully. It wants you to do that. It walks you and says, you probably want to make a clone set, but I would say most of the time you don't want to make a clone set unless you're doing it purposefully. And then in that case, if you do make this cloned group set, that you have to change a bunch of assignments, probably the future assignments in this semester. But otherwise, if you're using this other method that Kelly mentioned and showed in that document, is that as long as you're switching it to grade individually after you scored them as a group, you can move forward and you can change the groups without cloning the group set. So that's a lot of language in there, and I hope that was clear. But
yeah, if you don't follow that best practice, it boils down to the classic 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Depending on where you are in the semester, if you need to make a change and you haven't been switching them to individual, you would have to go into every group assignment and switch it to individual grading in order to make the change without cloning. If you make the change with cloning, now you got to go forward, all the group assignments going forward, and change all of those to the new group. I mean, If you're in the middle, you're kind of stuck either way. But if you've been changing to individual all along, you don't have to make that you don't have to go back and do it. It really depends. And the first time you run into this, you will feel like you didn't know what you were doing. And it's okay, because groups do just work. This is the hardest part of using groups in Canvas, and most people never deal with it.
Yes.
So the first time it will be hard. Yeah.
And chances are that you'll probably make a cloned group set without meaning to. And there's so many courses I go in, it's like, I want some help with my groups. I go in there and they have a cloned one that they've created by mistake. Yep. It's because Canvas walks you in that direction. It leads you to making that where you might not actually have wanted to do that. So,
and it's almost like Canvas is set up kind of like if you build your course as you go, which very few people do, because once you've built the course, you just copy the whole course forward. You know, if you were building it as you would go, it would make sense to clone it because you're going to build the new assignments as you go, and you would just choose the new set. But when you copy the whole course forward, it's all there. It's all there to begin with. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's the odd thing.
Boy, this was a hard one, Evan.
Yeah,
I don't know
hope
if
it
we
made sense to everybody, but
mud.
I think that, you know, if people get into this and they get confused, and it'll make more sense once they're messing with their own settings and their own courses and applying it to their situation, that most of the times we can clear up questions in short order. I mean, a 5-minute conversation can save you perhaps a lot of time. So it's worth reaching out to us if you get stuck at all, instead of banging your head against, you know, your keyboard.
Yeah, it is true that this is absolutely one of those ones where untangling, doing it in a way that messed it up, untangling that will take more time than it would have been if you had just asked. Most things in Canvas you can fiddle with and you can undo very quickly. This is not usually a super quick undo because we have to backtrack all the changes you've made, and sometimes that's hard to figure out.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to add? I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, this was a long one, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if you guys have any topics that you would like us to address, we're willing to take on the challenge of any topic that you throw at us, at least give it a shot. And I hope you enjoy this. And if you do, let us know. If you don't enjoy it, let us know that too, in a kind way. But, I hope you have a good week, Callie.
Thank you, you too. I hope spring keeps coming, everyone.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to sign off then. So goodbye.
Bye-bye.